Alright, welcome back. Video number 3. I'm Patrick Benner, faculty fellow Lafayette campus. Video 3, we're basically going to look at a Windows 7 install, create a backup, make an exception to the firewall rules, add a user, change the UAC settings, look at virus scan, as well as a malware scan. So let's go ahead and get started here. We've got some screenshots that we're going to go through for the Windows 7 install. I don't any longer run a VMware or anything, so we're just going to look at some screenshots here. If we need to, first we're going to go into our BIOS and set the boot order to boot from the DVD. And then we're going to have our Windows 7 DVD media disk loaded in the drive. Boot up our machine, and once it goes through BIOS and post, then it's going to fire up the Windows install screen. And the first screen we get here is to select the language and the keyboard type, and then the next screen is to install now. Now we could also use, it may be a little hard to see, there's a repair your computer, so we could use our original media disk as a repair disk, and at that point the system's going to start pulling the operating system files, reading those off the CD. Then we're going to have to come to our ever popular Microsoft license agreement, whereby if we don't click the I accept key, we are dead in the water. So once we accept the license agreement, then we need to decide, okay, are we doing a upgrade or are we doing a custom install? Basically, if we're not upgrading, it's automatically a custom install. Then the next screen, we need to tell the system where do we want the operating system installed. If our system has more than one partition, like this one does, then we need to select the partition that we want to make. Once we have done that, then it's going to go ahead and start installing the Windows files. This is almost done here. We're going to copy, expand, install the features. It's going to install any updates that it finds, and then we're going to reboot. We're going to come back up, and then we'll get prompted to enter a username as well as a PC name. And normally what the default here is going to be, like if I typed Patrick in for username, the computer name is default going to be Patrick dash or hyphen PC. Then we'll be prompted to set up a password, and let's see, that might be a duplicate file. Yeah, well, sorry about that. Then we'll be in Windows 7 towards the end of the install. We're going to be prompted for our license key. In Windows 8 we're prompted at the beginning. In Windows 7 we're prompted towards the end. So we would type our product key in here. It's going to automatically add the hyphens between these sets of numbers and letters, so you don't need to add those in manually. There's a checkbox here to automatically activate Windows once the PC is done and online. We can skip this step and just click on the next key here if we want to not enter a product key at the time of install. If we do that, we've given a 30-day grace period to purchase a valid product key and get that entered into the system. We'd be prompted to, you normally take all the defaults here using the recommended settings. We'll set the date and time. and then we could select our computer's current location, home network, work network, public network, and again, depending on which network we select, it's going to open or close some functionality of the machine as far as network discovery. Then it's going to finalize our settings, and once it's rebooted, then we will come up with a login prompt. And that's pretty much that as far as a Windows 7 clean. If it's a clean install, it's really a very simple process compared to back in the day. I remember Windows 95 and Windows 98, we had a set of, it was either 23 or 26 disks that came in a box, and you had to put those disks in the A drive one at a time while the operating system loaded. So if you had several machines to do, that could be quite a time-consuming task. Next thing we're going to look at is creating a backup. So what we would do is we would go down to the Start button, go up to the search bar, type backup, and it will populate some stuff up here. First one is going to be backup and restore, so we could take that option. And in this these slides, there has not been a previous backup configured, so we can go through the steps on how to do that. It says Windows backup has not been set, so we can click on the set up a backup. Then we've got the starting the Windows backup, and it's going to look for some backup devices, and it's going to see whatever is available that could possibly serve as a backup device, because it's going to be you obviously would serve no purpose to back up to the same drive whether it's a different partition on the drive or not. Because if the drive fails, then not only is your system gone, then your backup's gone as well. So here we've got a D drive, a recovery drive, and then we've got a DVD drive. So if we wanted to back up to a read-writable CD, we could select that. We've also got an option down here to back up to a network location. And then we would pick one of those and say next. And then down here, then we're prompted to, once we've selected where we want to back up, now we have to select what we want to back up. So we could either let Windows choose, or we could go down here and click Let Me Choose. If we take that option, then we've got our data files and we've got our operating system files. So if we were to click on local disk C here, we'd also have an option to include a system image of the C drive. Then we're going to be asked how often do we want to back up, so we could schedule it to run automatically, which is what we want to do, because as users we may not always be there, we may not always remember. So we want to set it up and let the operating system manage that for us. So we would click on Run the Backup on a Schedule, and then pick your schedule for a downtime. We have a server at my private employer's location that we back that up to several locations, one of which is a network storage device. So we set that to run in the evening and during non-production time. And then once we do that, then it's going to give us our progress bar for our backup once it's running. And then when we're all done, we'll get this nice little box. This is backup location. And that's pretty much it. And when we set this up, we could click on Backup Now and force a backup to run immediately, and then let the schedule take over, which is the method I would strongly suggest to do. That way, if anything were to happen to the system between when the time you scheduled the backup and when it actually ran, you do have a backup of the system. Alright, next thing we're going to look at is how to create an exception in the firewall to allow ping or ICMP packets. So we're going to go down to Start, open up our control panel, go to Windows Firewall. And in here we're going to go to Advanced Settings. And we're going to set an inbound rule. We'll say this is a new rule. And we'll pick Custom for this. Say Next. Say All Programs. And Next. And now we need to pick our protocol. So we're going to open that up. And we got a whole bunch of stuff down here, but we are interested for this example for ICMP version 4. And we will click on the custom, say specify the type of ICMP that we want. We want echo requests. And then we'll say OK. Go to Next. Now, we have to say, okay, where are these packets coming from and where are they going to? What's our remote IP address that this rule applies to? And what's our local addresses this applies to? If this PC is on a private network, you cannot ping a private network address from outside the network. So like if you're sitting in Cincinnati, you cannot ping my my workstation here where I'm at in Lafayette. So in that case, it's not going to hurt anything to leave it any, but let's look and see what our options are. Our remote IP addresses, let's look at this. They're going to be set up the same. Okay, so our local addresses, let's go these IP addresses, say add. Now I could either say a specific address or I can pick an address range. So if you could put the entire network, or you could or whatever your subnet is that you're on, and then say OK there. We're going to say cancel, say next. Oops, I forgot to reset that. Say next. Now we have to tell, okay, now that we've established this rule, is it to let something happen or is it to keep something from happening? So our options here are to allow the connection, allow it if it's a secure connection, or to block the connection. So we're wanting to allow ping packets, so we're going to say allow. Say next. Now where does this rule apply? You know, we talked earlier about we've got 3 different types of networks. We're in a domain, it's a private network, or if we're in a public network setting. Well, I definitely don't want to be pingable on a public network. So I'm going to uncheck that. And at this point I could go ahead and say next and then name my rule and then save that. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel this because I've already got ping allowed on this system. Alright, so anyway, that's how we create an exception in the firewall to allow ICMP version 4 packets. Now, next thing we need to look at is how to add another user. This is super simple. I'm going to go down, again, open up the control panel, go to user accounts. And this is a Windows 7 OS, if you haven't already figured that out. We're going to go to, this is the account that I have on the system, which is me. And I have administrator access rights, but we need to add another user. So let's go to manage another account. And I'll say create a new account. Now I need to pick, okay, a new account name. I could say test. Now, is this user going to be a standard user or an administrator? And that is usually a decision made by whoever the system administrator is as far as what type of access this user is going to have. Let's just say this is going to be a standard user. So we'll say create the account, and boom, 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 there we go. So now we'll double click that, and so that we're in the settings for this user account. Now what I want to do is create a password for that user. I'll click there. I've got to type my new password. I've got to retype it to confirm it, and then type in a hint that cannot contain anything that's in the password. So I'll go ahead and cancel that. This is also for managing accounts. We can go in here, we can change the account type. Let's say down the road we decide, oh, well, test needs to have administrator rights, not standard user rights. We can go in here and change the account type. Or if test takes a job at McDonald's and they're no longer here, we can go in here and actually delete the user account, which I probably should have done. So let's do that real quick. Delete the account. Delete it. Keep files. We haven't made any files since this user hasn't logged in. So it's not really going to matter. Delete the account. Alright, now we're back to where we were. Alright, change the UAC settings in Windows 7 versus XP. I'm not sure why XP is in my instructions here, because that OS is no longer supported. So we're going to look at Windows 7. So I'm going to go to my particular user on the system, and I'm going to let's see. I was in this just a minute ago. So let me poke around here just a sec. Oh, I know why. Okay. Yeah, I'm on the wrong screen. That's why. That's why. Let's go back out. All the way back here. Go to user accounts now. I'll highlight my account and say change user account control settings. I need to be back out here at the main screen. I apologize for the hunt and peck there. So I click on the UAC notice, and I can move this up or down, and as I do that, the notification window here will tell me what the ramifications are going to be of that. I just always leave this at the default, and I'm going to click cancel so that nothing I did is going to stick. Alright, last couple of things we're going to look at. Virus scan, malware scan. So I use, we have AVG Cloud Care here, which is a corporate version of AVG. So when I open up the AVG icon, and I went ahead and took a screenshot after I told it to go ahead and start running, and we look through here, see some of the information. We're running a whole computer scan. We can make adjustments to that. We just say just scan for rootkits, just scan in certain folder locations, but I've got a solid state drive in this anyway, so it doesn't take more than about a minute and a half. So I will just say run a whole computer scan. This is another one of those things that can be scheduled, and just as with backups, you want to schedule these to run in off hours. Here's the last time it was updated, which was today at 5:49 a.m. And down here we've got a couple of settings on this. We can run it dynamically, which means for AVG, if I as a user need to kind of intervene here and interact with my system, it's going to drop the priority of the virus scan so that I can be productive. Once it's all done, in a perfect world, it will come up like this and say, whole computer scan finished, no threats detected, which obviously is what we always want. I've got malware bytes on here for malware scanning. Again, basically the same type of scenarios with the backups and the antivirus. You can schedule this to run whenever. It's going to check for updates, as will the AVG. It's going to scan memory, start files, registries, system file systems, and a heuristic analysis. Heuristics means that it's going to not only rely on a virus definition file, but it's going to look at how files act on the system. With heuristic scanning, it's going to basically take the approach of, if it looks like malware and it acts like malware, then it probably is malware, so I'm going to quarantine that file. And again, took 1 minute and 23 seconds to run malware on this system and scan 376,000 items with 0 threats detected, which is what we want to have. And that comprises everything in video 3. I hope this was educational. Have a good afternoon, and we will see you in video 4.